So the next option is for us to look at is how to actually assemble and start an email. So I'm looking at the screenshot that I took of the compose function. I'm going to tap that edit function and then the markup, and that's going to bring up my different tools for write-up. First thing I need to know, I'm going to look at those 4 boxes at the top of the screen, of that window, I should say, and I'm going to insert a text box because I would like to describe what that is. Now the 2 is where I enter the address, the email address to the person I actually want to read the message. Okay. So this can be one or more than one person. A note about email addresses that I'm going to add another text box above this too. So we have a definition. An email address is usually a username followed by the @ symbol, the server name, and then usually a .com or .org. I'm just going to say .domain because there are different domains. So for example, if you look to the left of that in that particular example, you'll see that my username is brice at NKSD is the server and the domain is .com. So you need to make sure when you're entering those email addresses that you are entering everything correctly. Case sensitivity is, I don't think of a thing anymore. I would have to look into that, but making sure that you have spelling and everything else is important. Okay, we'll notice the next box under that. I'm going to add another text box here. And this text where it says CC, this is short for carbon copy. Now, I'm going to explain what carbon copy is, and then you can pause and paraphrase. But a carbon copy is when I would like to make sure that other people are getting a copy of the message, but it's not specifically for them to respond to. A good example of this would be like if I'm sending, like my niece just got married this past summer, and she was in correspondence with various people about her ceremony, and she would CC or carbon copy her fiance, now husband, so he would have a copy in his email account as well. Or she would carbon copy her mom because she wanted her mom to have a copy of the correspondence as well. So again, carbon copy, this is where I write the email addresses for people who I want to see the message but not respond. Pause and paraphrase. Next, we have BCC, and this is short for blind carbon copy. And I'm going to, again, explain what this is without typing it, so you want to listen and then paraphrase into your own words. Blind carbon copy is for email addresses that you want to keep hidden from all of the readers because you don't want to share anybody's personal information. Mrs. Seville always gives a good example of this when she has to send emails to a large group of parents. It's just like a mass email. She doesn't necessarily want to share all of their contact information, so she uses the BCC field in order to hide that information. Okay, so I want you to pause and paraphrase and fill out what that stands for. Next, we have the subject box or subject field. Now, the subject field is going to be a brief description of what you're sending. This should be no more than 4 words. Okay, so brief description of what the message is about. Okay, again, 1 to 4 words. You don't want to be very lengthy. Okay. I will give you a tip. When you are sending messages to somebody you know is receiving very similar messages, like a teacher has asked you to email them, and you know every student of them, theirs is going to be emailing them, including your name in the subject is probably going to be helpful to them. Okay. Next, and I'm going to change this to red text. This is the body of the email. Okay. And I'm going to explain what this is, and then I want you to, after the colon, paraphrase what it means. This is where you compose your message. This might include a greeting or an introduction, depending on whether you know the person well that you're sending this to. But usually this is a pretty short message, so it's about a paragraph, unless it's a more personal email, like comparable to handwriting a letter, and that's when it would be longer. So you pause and paraphrase, and then I'm going to be moving on. Next, I'm going to talk about the signature. The signature of the email is how you choose to close your message. Now, what's interesting about the signature is that you can change it to a different signature by default. That means it'll repeat in every message unless you delete it. Okay, so this is how you close. And it can be set up to repeat or default automatically. Okay, so that's what your signature is. Pause. Okay, next we're going to talk about the toolbars at the very bottom, or the icons, I should say, at the very bottom. The first one is a calendar. Okay, and this allows you to insert a calendar invitation. Now what that means is, for people who use online calendars or electronic calendars, it will automatically access your calendar and put a time and busy and fill in the description of what you're doing that day. So this is only if you use, or you know they use, an online calendar. Okay, next. Okay, next we're going to use this little button that looks like a paper clip. That is how I attach. Okay. Now, attach means if I want to include a file that would be really cumbersome or awkward if I were to copy and paste into the body. So if I were to attach a Word file, a PDF, or an image, this would allow me to keep it in its original formatting instead of having to change the formatting to include it in the body of the email. Okay? If you need more time, pause. So I'm moving on. All right, next. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, next I'm going to circle that little camera icon. And this is if I would like to take a picture and insert it into the body of the email. So that it will access the picture in whatever device you're using. So pause and fill that out. Next and last for this particular image, I'm going to circle the A with a little pencil underneath it. Okay, so that's formatting. This is going to allow me to change the different fonts within the body of my email. Okay, so when you are done with this, you are going to tap done, done, and then we are going to save the file to your OneDrive, and you will name it using your last name, first initial, and Outlook Compose. And you'll hit done and save. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use this again. And then you'll be finished with this one, and we'll move on to the formatting image to mark up next.